This is the Real Estate Sit Down presented by Double B Homes. My name is Blair Berg, and today I am joined by Corey Wright, who is going to talk to us today about using real estate to bring financial freedom. Thanks for coming in, Corey.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, and congrats on your recent feature in the Twin Cities Real Producers, by the way.
Hey, thank you. Long time coming, a lot of hard work.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet to see the spread in there. That was awesome. So let's just dive right into it. Fill us in on your background. What'd you do before real estate?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of always been in real estate. I got my license when I was fresh out of high school, maybe about a year. I didn't go to college, so I'm not college educated, FYI. But yeah, I got my license when I was 19. That was right before the original crash of
Okay.
'08, '09. So by '08, '09, I had a couple houses, was in real estate, thought I was doing it, and then it crushed me, lost it all, and then built it all back up. But yeah, no, I've been in the game probably like 15 years now.
Damn. Yeah, that's awesome. So well, first of all, I always say this to other agents I talk to too. I regret getting my college degree. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. I'm still paying that
No,
off.
no, my kids are going to college. They don't got a choice, man. College is still a thing.
But yeah, so we don't need to dive too much into this, but it's
Yep.
funny you bring that up. Oh wait, and now everyone's like, "Oh, the market's going to crash.
No,
Market's going to crash."
no,
Yeah. Let's
no.
we'll keep it
That's a
the
whole
short
nother.
sweet answer.
All
Yeah.
I'll say about that is supply and demand. Look it up.
Exactly. Yeah, no supply. All right, so you kind of covered when you started. What
Yep.
got you interested in real estate?
Yep. Financial freedom, which is one of the big topics we're going to talk about today. But I just realized I wasn't built to work for somebody else.
Mhm.
And a lot of the people I knew that had money, they were in real estate and they had their own business.
Mhm.
When I was 16, I was doing construction for a family friend. And we
Okay.
were doing sheetrock, drywall, framing, stuff like that, right? And I was just always a curious kid, like, how are these people doing it? And I would chop it up with like the people doing tile, the people doing paint. Then eventually I would talk to the owners. And I realized a lot of these owners were flipping the houses, they were doing rental. And I
Mhm.
just started picking their brain. And I was like, well, I know the construction side, what that cost. I'm figuring out the real estate side and what they paid for it. And I realized you can make some pretty good money doing the investment route. And if you started off doing the flips, that's a good way to build capital to get into rentals,
Mhm.
which is the long term game.
Yeah, and it's interesting too the way you reverse engineered it because I think a lot of people don't get into real estate investing because they don't know the costs involved.
Yep.
I know it's a huge barrier because it's like, oh, I got to bring a contractor out to come and look at this place every time I want to check out a property. And as you know, you have to analyze a lot of deals
Yep.
to get a deal.
Yep.
So that's awesome that you had that background to kind of get into it.
Yep.
Did you have any specific mentors when you started getting into the game, or
Uh, I had one mentor, not necessarily on the real estate side, just on the life and business side.
okay?
So the gentleman I did construction with, he was from the Bahamas, so he wasn't from America. He came here in his 30s, started a business,
Hmm.
grew up real successful. So he really trained me at a young age on how to be a business owner.
Okay.
And how to just go after it, and that it didn't matter your circumstances, where you came from, what type of money you had. If you have the drive, you can make it happen. And so, as far as the real estate side, it was kind of like college. It was trial by error. It was
Yeah.
basically getting in it and doing it and
Yep.
being like, well, that worked really well, or man, that sucked. Don't ever do that
Yeah.
again.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that for sure. Um, so yeah, you started in construction. What were you like in your teens when you started doing
Yeah,
that?
yep, 16.
And are
Yep,
you local to the area?
I am. Yep, I
Okay.
grew up in Minneapolis.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So started doing construction, then you started to get the itch for real estate. You're like, hey, all these wealthy people have it.
Yep,
So I mean, and they it's just funny. I did a little video yesterday about
yep,
the tax situation with real estate, and it's
yep,
like this is why the wealthy love real estate.
yep,
Besides the the obvious appreciation and stuff like that. So
yep. It's an asset.
construction, yeah.
It's asset building that you can hand down.
Well, I think, and I'm sure you're still the same way. It's like you still learn stuff about like the wealth building side of real estate. Like I didn't even think about it that way,
100%
and
every
that's
day.
what's awesome. That's
Every
why I
day.
love real estate. It's
Yep,
like you never know everything there
yep,
is, and there's always stuff coming
yep,
up. So
yep.
Um, so you kind of touched on it. Give us just the recap. So you're doing construction, you got your
Yeah,
license, you
yeah.
started to get in the industry. What's that
Well,
look like for
yeah.
you?
Well, for sake of time, I'll try and give the abbreviated version, right? But I didn't have any money, right?
Okay.
And I didn't have any backing. I didn't have like an angel investor at first. That's like, here's a pot of gold, go
Hmm.
get it.
Hmm.
It was just networking, relying on myself for resources. But when '08 hit and I lost everything, I mean, it was bankruptcy, it was 7 foreclosures, over 6 figures in debt. So it wasn't even like starting from zero. Like a lot of people get into real estate, they're at least zero.
Yeah.
And I was in a hole.
You would have loved zero at
I
that
would have
point.
loved zero, right? But I just knew that I had the internal drive to get this done. That I knew that the wealthy people were in real estate. The wealthy people own business. And I was like, I was like, I'm not going to be a failure. I'm like, I'm going to be a success. And whatever that takes, I'm going to do it. And if I have to network with 1,000 people to get one person to give me the secret sauce, I'm going to do that. And basically, I just worked my way up. So 2011, I got back into real estate. I did get my first angel investor. I had an uncle that gave me 50 grand. That was it. He's like, Corey, I got 50 grand. I can stake you. You go do it. I bought a house in Crystal for like 40 grand. I did all the work myself, flipped that one, turned that into a duplex, and then just kept the ball rolling. So that was the beginning. Fast forward to where we're at now, man, I flipped over 150 plus homes. I do them anywhere from $200,000 flips to $2 million flips, put it into rental buildings. I've owned a brokerage, sold a brokerage. At one point was the largest minority owned brokerage in Crystal, Robbinsdale, Brooklyn Center, all that. And now I just mentor a ton of people, man.
That's awesome.
So that's the short version.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you're talking about flips, buy and holds, rentals, what to you is like your favorite? Because I know you probably diversify. You like that too.
100%.
But what is like your favorite thing to do? Do you like to get in, do a good flip? Do you like to buy and hold? What's your kind of go-to?
I love the puzzle piece of it all.
Yeah.
I love going to a property and figuring out what's it going to take to make this like a viable asset, to make money, and putting all the pieces together, then to further that puzzle to say, now how can I take the capital from this flip and turn it into a long producing asset?
Yeah, and I think that's awesome to have that mentality, because I think that holds a lot of people back, myself included, is that I think I have a lot of limiting thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's like being able to see like, hey, this is a big chunk of change that I'm putting in this right now, but I can see down the road how this is going to pay off. Yep. And I think a lot of people, myself included, that is a little bit of a struggle sometimes.
It can be. And a lot of people look at investment like, oh, it's so glamorous. I'm going to make all this money and I'm going to make 50,000 on a flip. And it's like, let's pump the brakes right there, right? But even if you make 20 on a flip and you put that in a duplex and you held that duplex for 5 years, well, yeah, there's your 50. And now you have an asset. One of my, later in life, I met a mentor. He's probably the wealthiest dude I know personally. And I sat down with him and was just talking, spitting. And he was just like, hey, Corey, what did you do this year? Like, as far as real numbers. And we really talked real numbers. Like, I was like, hey, man, I had my best year. I did like 15 flips that year. I had the brokerage. I was hustling. I was doing all my regular retail clients. And I was just all over the place. And he's like, all right, Corey, you're doing good, right? He's like, man, you're probably in the top 5%, of people in America as far as income. But he's like, let me ask you a question. He was like, do you want to be a realtor or do you want to be wealthy? And at first I'm like, man, what are you talking about? I'm like, man, I'm doing it. Didn't you hear all the stuff I just said I did? And he's like, yeah, but I'm gonna ask you again, do you want to be a realtor or do you want to be wealthy? He was like, think about it. You can only sell so many homes. You can only show so many homes. You can build a team and do all that, but you're going to be capped at how many homes you can sell. He's like, now that's just being a realtor. You can only flip so many homes. He's like, you will never be wealthy until your money works for you as hard as you do to get it. So when you go to bed, is your money working? When you wake up, is your money working? When you're on vacation, is your money working? Or is all that on pause? And when you're on vacation, you're not working, you're not making any money.
Yeah.
When you're asleep, you're not showing houses, you're not making any money.
Yeah. And I think that's a great segue into my next question. How do you define financial freedom?
How do I financial freedom?
How do you define that?
When my kids know that they have options to go into a business and they won't be lacking for anything.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I kind of think that answers my next question I have, just like, why is that so important to you? But generational wealth.
Generational wealth, man. We're hitting on all the big ones: financial freedom, generational wealth. But you kind of touched on it. Like, man, the people who really make moves in this country and have wealth, a lot of times they pass it down to the next generation. And unfortunately for me, I didn't have that. I didn't have the generational wealth that got passed down. So I was like, that stops with me. So
Yep.
my kids are going to have something that passed down. And hopefully my kids can take whatever I did, multiply it, and give it to their kids. But I'm the starting point where they can get on my shoulders and leapfrog off of me. So the next generations after me have something to build on.
Yeah, and it's funny. I read a kind of funny tweet this morning that said something about pretty much generational wealth is great until your like great grandkids decide to sell it all off.
And
But
then it's over. Yeah.
yeah, but
and then they're just trust fund kids at that
yeah,
point.
exactly.
Hey, it's better than being broke, I
Yeah,
guess.
hey, and then in your lifetime, you and your kids,
I did it.
like you
I
can
did it.
only do what you can do.
Yeah,
But
and that's leaving a legacy. I mean,
yeah,
truly financial freedom is when I can sit at home and say, you know what, me and my wife have left a legacy,
hmm
and that legacy will be passed down.
yeah, and I think that's huge. Well, and that's I think real estate's great for that
Yeah,
because it's like nothing on a 9 to 5. People who work 9 to 5. There are people who are very happy working 9 to 5s and make a lot of money, but it's like you got to wait for that promotion.
yeah,
You got to wait if it's commission based. You got to sell a couple of things here or there. But real estate's like if you're willing to put in the work, find the deals, the sky's the limit.
it's the limit. I mean, even look at now. If you work at Amazon or Google, they've been doing cuts. And probably the big boys might not be getting cut, but still, anytime you work for another company, I don't care how good your salary is, you could get cut.
Well, when you work for yourself too, I mean, I don't feel like I'm going to fire myself anytime soon. So,
Oh, I fired myself a bunch. Multiple times I woke up and was like, you ain't getting it done. It's over.
yeah. So, what, and I think we touched on it a little bit. Like, do you have a plan or blueprint for actually achieving the financial freedom? Like, do you have a set plan? Like, hey, this is 5 years, this is 10 years, this is 15.
I do. And how I measure that is net worth.
Okay.
So my measuring stick. So a lot of people in real estate, I sell homes, you sell homes, but a lot of people's measuring stick is how many units.
Yep.
Oh man, I did 50 units. I did 100 units. That's the measuring stick, right? To me, it's like it doesn't matter how many units I've done, how many flips. It's how's my net worth
Mhm.
growing. Because
Yep.
that's the big part. So if I sold 100 homes, but I tricked it off and spent it on trips and cars, what good was it to do the 100 units?
Yeah.
But if I did 10 flips or 30 units and I took all that money and invested it and my net worth doubled, huge difference.
Mhm.
So when I plan, I basically strategically say, what are my rental units doing right now? Can I level those up?
Yep.
So if I have a 6-unit building in the next 2 years, can I make that a 12? If I got a 12, can I make it a 24? On the flip side, it's like, hey, how many people are in my network that are flipping with me? How
Yep.
many resources do I have in there? Do I need to add 10 people this year? So in the 5-10 year window, it's how many doors do I have? How much money is that making?
Yeah, which is great too. And I feel like you're one step ahead of me at all times here because I was going to say too, I know some people get into it. They're like, oh, my niche is single family homes. I only deal with single family homes. And then they get 500 single family homes and they got property managers everywhere.
Yeah.
And some people are like, I only do large apartment buildings. Are you, so it sounds like you probably started with single family.
Yep.
And are you always looking to scale?
Always looking to scale. To me, the single family is really good income, but you're relying on one person.
Mhm.
And so the risk factor in that is a lot greater than if you have like an apartment building with 12. Totally different clientele, totally different rental market, different areas, right? Appreciation isn't as much in an apartment building as it is in a single family. But in a 12-unit building, I can have 3 people miss their payment and I'm still cash flowing.
Yeah.
On a single family home, they
That
get
thing's
behind
vacant
one.
for a couple of months.
It's over.
And for a beginning investor, that could eat away at your entire year's what you thought was going to be profit.
It could. So that's why like a duplex is really, I had single family rentals, then went to duplexes, then to 4s, then to 6s, then to 12. So yes, I'm always looking to scale. But now when I scale, it's not just apartment buildings. It's looking at strategic stuff like Airbnb is really big,
Mhm.
vacation homes in Florida, mixed use places where I can have an office on the main level with some businesses I own and then apartments up.
Yep.
So it's not just scaling just all apartments, but it's just bigger buildings that produce a better cash flow.
Yeah, and that makes a ton of sense. I mean, full disclosure, I mean, the way I'm getting started is doing the whole house hacking thing. We bought a
Yep.
duplex.
Which is a good thing, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I knew I had the real estate background to know because I mean the main reason I got into real estate, as much as I love my clients, I love all you guys.
Yeah, me too.
I love selling. But the reason I got into it was for the investment aspect.
Yep.
I mean, I'll probably always be doing some sales,
Yep.
but I do want to be scaling be
Yep.
buying new properties, and kind of leveling up that way.
Yep.
So to you, and I guess it's probably a sliding scale when I think about this question, but have you achieved financial freedom? Or is it something that it's kind of always going to be on the horizon?
I'm gonna give a two-sided answer. So, yes, I have. So, financial freedom. I can go on a trip whenever I want. I mean, I've gone 4 places already this year. I've been to Florida twice. I've been to Dominican. I've been to San Diego. That's financial freedom. You know.
Business trips, though, you're probably scouting properties.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. 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 Taxes. I'm business. I'm business. But I got the cars. I got the cool houses. I have all of that. So financial freedom, when someone looks at me from the outside and they see where I'm at now, 100% financial freedom. I mean, I'm to pat myself on the back. Yes, I have financial freedom, but in my head, I am still the broke, struggling realtor that's trying to get put on. And every job I've ever had, I've never been motivated by money. Money has never motivated me. What has always motivated me is being the best. What has motivated me is helping my family. What has motivated me is helping my kids. What has motivated me is learning something that I can pass on to somebody else that is struggling the same way I was, didn't have the help, and I can teach them how to get money.
Mm-hmm.
That's what motivates me. So when I get all this achievements and success and in business, it's because I'm out there grinding, trying to do the best for others, and the money comes.
Yeah. And I think that's huge. I think, like, yes, do what you love to do. It's not going to seem like that much work. If you're helping others, like, the money will come.
Yeah.
There are ways to make money.
Oh, the money will come. If you just focus on the money, then I feel like your business won't strive as well because it'll always be about that transaction. It'll
Mhm.
always be about the money. And my uncle who gave me that steak, he gave me a good quote one time. And it's a quote everyone's probably heard, but he's like, look, Corey, pigs go to pasture and hogs get slaughtered.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, if you're trying to hog every deal, it's all about the money, eventually you're gonna get slaughtered.
Yeah.
But hey, if you just want to eat a little bit on each deal and you go out there and you eat, you can keep on eating and eating and
Mhm.
eating and eating.
It's great advice. It's great advice, I think, in the investment realm.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
Do you think there are any misconceptions others may have about financial freedom?
Yeah, they think you're just sitting at home balling. They just think it's like a Instagram story where you're like sitting by the pool and ain't nothing going on. And the wealthy people I know don't live like that.
Yeah, well, and I think that's funny too because I think, well, first of all, I think there's a big misconception about real estate investing in general is that it's passive. You got passive income.
Yeah, right.
I'm thinking that if you're like legally making money, nothing's like truly passive.
No.
You got to do
You
something.
have to be. I mean, I have a management company for my apartment buildings, and I'm still
But even then, you got to do something.
in the trenches.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like
Yeah.
passive, and yeah, and
I
I
mean,
think it's funny.
You go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think it's funny in a social media world.
Yep.
When wealthy people, like, you see what they're doing on social media, like, oh, that looks awesome. They're not working. It's like, well, that picture took like a second to take.
Yeah, because you know what? Because they're showing you all, they're showing Friday night date night, but they're not showing you Tuesday night fight night.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
They're showing you the best of the best, and they're not showing you how you got there. I mean, financial freedom really is just having options, like options of, can I go on a trip this month? Options of, do I need to go to work for 60 hours this week? Options of, where can I send my kids to school? That's what financial freedom is. Financial freedom is not sitting at home watching Sports Center by a pool.
Yeah, and that's
driving a Lamborghini everywhere.
Yeah, that's a fact. So yeah, anything you would want people to know about financial freedom? Like, what would you say? Hey, like, if you were talking to somebody who said, "Hey, Corey, I want financial freedom," what do you say to that person?
What are you willing to do? What sacrifices are you willing to make to get there? Everyone sits at home and says, "Man, I want financial freedom." If it took you 10 years to get in debt, it might take you 10 years to get out of debt. So when someone says, "Man, I want financial freedom," I'm like, all right, are you willing to stop your Amazon account? Are you willing to get down to one car? Hey, where are you at right now? Well, I don't have that much finances coming in. What are you spending on? What can we take back on the spending to create some more money to put that in investments? Are you really willing to do what it takes to achieve financial freedom? Financial freedom isn't just throw some money at a problem and then boom, it happens. It's a whole lifestyle change.
And I think that is a big misconception too, because they're like, I think a lot of people would say to you, like, "Oh, Corey, I'm willing to do whatever it takes," and then come that Friday, if they talk to you on a Monday, they slept until like 10. I'm like, I just don't really want to do it anymore.
That's it.
I think I might just go back to my job.
And that's what I'm telling you, man. I meet with people every single week that want to get into the investment game and want financial freedom. And I lead them all the way to the water. All you got to do is drink.
Hmm.
90% of people don't do it because they're not really willing to make the sacrifice.
Yeah, and I think a big thing for me, like this year, I'm planning on it being a big year because I've been in real estate for a while, and I think, admittedly, probably somewhat passively,
Yep.
kind of one of those guys. And I'm like, nope. Like I've always wanted to get in investments. It's always like a tomorrow thing. Like I'm gonna do it tomorrow,
Yep.
but
And 3 years later, we're still doing it tomorrow.
yeah, and it's been one of those things too. It's like I think even meeting you through a mutual friend too, I
Yep.
think a bunch of us were like, you know what, we need to do something. So
Yep.
meeting with you, I think, was huge, and I just like changing your network. I think is huge too,
Huge.
and I'm constantly trying to get deeper into that world, hang out with more,
Yep.
investors, contractors, stuff like
Yep.
that. People who know. You need to surround yourself with people who know what you want to do, and they have the same goals.
100%. You want to be a millionaire? Start hanging out with millionaires.
Yeah.
You
And
want
then
to be broke? Stay with your broke friends.
And then that's the thing too. It's like if then you hang out with a bunch of people who also want to be millionaires like you, and then you just sit and talk.
Then you're the
about it.
tomorrow guy.
Yeah, exactly. That's how that goes.
I mean, one of the misconceptions I had, right, is I thought people with money weren't approachable. I thought people with money wouldn't teach me. I thought people that were in this investment game would just look at me and be like, "Man, you're a nobody," right?
Mhm.
A lot of that there was there, right? A lot of it. But you'll find a lot of people that have made it in real estate or investing, generational wealth, whatever it is, they've had a crazy journey. A lot of them. And they're
Well,
willing to be like, look, I went through all of this. If you take the time and the sacrifice, I'll teach you. I'll give you the secret sauce.
yeah, and I think, like you said, it's huge. You had a crazy journey to get there. So, and I was even going to point out, like, yeah, it probably doesn't feel great to bring up the bankruptcy and stuff like that, but you talk to a lot of wealthy people. Bankruptcy is not like a
Yeah.
rare thing. It's not a
Look,
rare topic.
I mean, for me, it's an open book.
Yeah.
The more I show my scars, the more I can help other people.
Mhm.
But if I come off as like where people see me now and they're like, oh, this big dude doing $1 million flips, right? Yeah, it's something to aspire to, but you don't see the journey.
Exactly.
You don't see the learning. You don't see that. And that's what you can pass down. The cool crib in Edina for 2.5 million, that looks great, but I can't really give that to you. I can't pass that down.
Yeah.
But the journey to get there, I can pass that down to you where you'll now be able to do it yourself.
Well, I think that's huge just because, like I said, I think anyone, I mean, even in like a moderately decent financial situation could look at you and be like, I can't do that. Like, there's no way I can do that. He
Yeah.
probably has been like that forever. But then you tell him, like, no, I went through the crash.
Yeah.
I went through bankruptcy. And then that helps people out because they're like, okay, well, maybe
Yeah,
it is
and
doable.
that's one of the big reasons I share that is, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of what I've been through. But it's just like I don't have any patience for people who are like, oh, I can't achieve that, because I'm like, look, I'm a living testament of like, I don't know a worse financial situation you can crawl out of, and I did it.
Mhm.
So it's like there is no excuse. You're in debt, you got a foreclosure, you got bankruptcy, you don't got no money, you didn't go to college, you got whatever it is, like you can overcome that.
Yeah,
Because
for
I
sure.
did it.
Yeah. No,
But I
and
made
that's
this. I made the sacrifice to do
And
it too.
that, I mean, like you said, like we've talked a couple times, and that's why I wanted you on to talk about this kind of stuff because I
Yeah.
know your story, and it's like now you're a feature in a magazine. So,
Which is crazy, but yeah, I am.
like, when you started, you think like, oh, someday I'm going to be the guy in the magazine.
Yeah, no. When I started, I was like, man, I remember I was sitting I had just got married. We were in this tiny little 1-bedroom janky apartment. Man, I was so broke. I had to ask my wife for gas money. And I was like, you know what? I just want to get out of this situation to provide for my family. And I was like, I do want to create wealth, but never did I think I was really gonna be doing like $1 million flips and be in magazines. I knew I was gonna be successful, but I didn't know where I was gonna be at now. And this, I honestly feel like, I'm not trying to toot my horn, but I'm like, man, this is just the beginning.
Yeah, and I think that's a great mindset too to have because I mean, I played sports throughout school, college, all that. It's like I think that's what helps me wake up in the morning is my competitive drive.
Yep.
And I think that's a healthy thing to have. And I think it'd be very rare to talk to a wealthy person who doesn't have a competitive drive.
For sure. For sure.
because they'd just be happy with what they have and they'd be done with it.
But that's why they're successful.
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
they have that competitive drive.
Sometimes borderline, it can be a little scary.
I mean, the
but
billionaires are like they trip out.
they're cutthroat.
I ain't trying to get to that level, but
exactly.
no, I mean, anyone can make it, but for me, I truly do want to like teach other people how to do it. And hence why we're getting along is like you're taking the opportunity to be like, hey, how can I learn from somebody? How can I take the bit that they've done and apply it to my life where I can get some success?
Well, and I think that's a huge part of a mind shift is being humble. Being humble enough to say, I don't know everything.
Correct.
It's like, I don't actually know a lot of things. And I think the wealthier people you talk to, they have so many mentors. Even guys like, you would talk to somebody that is like, well, he's way above me.
Yep.
But then you find out he's got like a fitness coach. He's got a nutritionist.
Yep.
He's got a real estate coach.
Yep.
And because they know, I mean, it's a waste of your time, I think, to even try to master everything.
Okay.
And it's like you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of none.
And we all know this. For new agents, you come in, any mentor, any team you're on, as a new agent, you're like, I want to do it all. Buyers, sellers, investments. And it's like, whoa, pump the brakes.
You got 24 hours just like everybody else.
Just like everybody else. Let's figure out that one lane that you're really good at and let's add to it. Are you a buyer's agent? Okay. Master that. Let's add to it. Now let's get into listings. Same thing.
Yeah, because you start to narrow that learning curve down, and then you can add on more things. But don't fill up your plate right away.
Right.
This has been awesome. Is there anything else, tips, anything you'd want to leave people listening to?
100%, man. Like, if you truly want that financial freedom, you have to go after it. And if you talk to any fitness coach, and you go to them and be like, man, I really want to get in shape, man. I'm out of shape. When should I start? What do you think their answer is going to be? Today. Get to it.
Yep.
Let's go. Let's go do some push-ups. Let's go do something. And it's the same thing for investing. Investors are like, they want to analyze it till they're blue in the face. And it's like, you're never going to find the right scenario where the money lined up, the contractor lined up, the house lined up, and it's just like all the stars aligned.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Well, and I think early on in my career, I was the same way. Like you just explained, like, well, I got to have this set up and that set up. It's going to take me a little bit to get started. Just do it. Just start. Well, like using the fitness analogy, I think I saw like a tweet the other day that was a quote from a fitness coach, and he said the heaviest weight to lift is the door to get in the gym.
Oh, 100%.
So it's like if you're talking about real estate, it's like sometimes the heaviest weight to lift is the phone. To pick it up and make that call.
It literally is.
So
so the advice is just like do it, and especially if you're a realtor, you open the door to people's houses every single day. Open your own door. Let's go. Like it. It's there. You live it, breathe it. I am shocked at the amount of agents that are just like, I want to do it, but man, I'm scared. And I'm like, you preach to your clients all the time that this is the biggest financial decision you're going to make, and you're going to have all this equity, and it's going to create all this wealth for you. But then when you come to your own self, you kind of panic and get scared as that first time buyer.
Yeah.
So yeah, go do it. Get that first one, learn from it, and realize that whatever investment you do, rental, flips, or whatever, you're gonna make mistakes. It's not gonna go the way you want. Don't give up, and fine tune it until you finally hit on the one that works. Then do that over and over and over and over again, and you'll make it.
Yeah, and I think that's funny too, because I think all agents have said the phrase, well, this one has potential. Like if you think it has so much potential, buy it. Buy it and flip it for something.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah.
And then you're like, maybe it doesn't have that much potential. But I do think that's huge too. And I'm surprised at the amount of real estate agents that I know that have no interest in owning more real estate besides their home. And it's like, because you say we preach about the equity you can make, the profits you can make, all this financial freedom when we're showing clients, but then like, I'm good with just my house. But it's like, you have all this knowledge.
Yeah.
We have to do 30 hours of training every 2 years on just real estate. It's like, all the stuff that goes into it.
Correct.
Make an investment.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing too. Early coach of mine said, like, when you wake up in the morning and look in the mirror, well, there's your best customer.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that quote because that is true. That's your best customer right there.
Exactly.
Figure it out. Have your little buyer's meeting with that person
Yeah,
in the mirror and get them to sign on the dotted line.
exactly. And I kind of too like when I'm looking at houses when I walk through a client like I'm looking through it. I mean through their lens and their financial situation, but I'm always kind of looking through mine too.
Yeah.
Like would this be a right buy? And
Yeah.
it's an interesting market right now, anyways. But
It is.
we can talk about that at a different
Yeah.
time. But yeah, this has been awesome. Any last second things before I let you go?
Nope. I'm an open book. Hit me up. Follow me on social. Let's
Yeah, I
get
mean,
it.
you want to give out your handles? Give them out.
Yeah, at the real Corey Wright on Instagram, Facebook. Hit me up and we can chat.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks for coming on, Corey.
Yeah, no problem.